Hello. If you missed the lesson from last week that talks about creating a nameplate, this video is going to go through the steps to create that nameplate and how to share it so that I can print it for you. The first thing you're going to do is log into Tinkercad. If you don't know how to do that, there is a video posted in Classroom on how to log in. You can go ahead and watch that now and then come back to this video afterwards. Once you're in, you are going to come down to where it says My Recent Designs, and I want you to create a new design. Make sure you're choosing the blue button and not the white button. This is the old version of Tinkercad. We want to make sure we're choosing the new one. So once you've clicked on that, the first thing we need to do is create a plate for your name tag to go on. So we're going to use a basic cube on the print table, and that's going to allow us to stretch it out and flatten it so that we can build our nameplate on that. So under here, under basic shapes, you're going to grab this red cube and you're going to pull it out onto the work plane. All right, and then we're going to actually stretch it out. The easiest way to do this is just to click on this white block here. Once you've clicked on that, you then have the option of typing in how big you want your plate to be. 20 wide is fine. We're going to leave it at 20, but we're going to change the length to 80. Now you can adjust this once you've decided what you're writing, but this is just a basic start. Once you've done that, we also have to make it a little bit thinner. Right now, this is very, very thick. It would look ridiculous as a nameplate. So we're going to change the height to 3 millimeters. And we do that by clicking on the white block here and then changing 20 to 3 and hitting enter. And that's going to go ahead and flatten this plate down for you. So now you have something to build your nameplate on. So after that, now if you notice, you can see that there is some thickness from the nameplate. What we want to do is be able to pull letters out. But right now, if I come over to basic shapes and I choose text instead, if I pulled out the letter C and put it on the plate, it almost looks okay. If I zoom in a little bit so you can see it better. But once I look at the side, you see there's not very much thickness. And if I look at the bottom, you can see how it's cutting through the bottom of the plate. That's not what we want. And if I pull it out, look how thick the letter actually is. So what's happening is the C is coming out on the work plane, and it's actually kind of being cut in half, or actually 3/4, by the plate itself. So to fix that, what we want to do is grab what's called the work plane. This is the work plane here. When I click on that, it gives me this little block, and I can move where my objects come out. So right now, I want it to be on top of this plate. So if I click here, I now have this orange work plane, and you can see the difference where the print plane is. If I get just the right angle, you can see that the print plane is here. This is the blue print plane, and then this is the new work plane that's on top of our plate. So what we're going to do now, if I pulled out the C, rather than sitting below the surface, now it's sitting right on top, which is what we want. So what you're going to do is grab this text feature, drag it out onto your plate, and then you can go ahead and resize it by grabbing the corner so that it fits on the plate. Right here in this box, this is like a formatting box. You can type whatever you want. It could be your name, your sister's name, your dog's name, a sports team, whatever you want. I'm going to say Hawks. That's what we are here. And then you can click off of it. And right now, this looks pretty good. But what I want you to do is check from the top view. So if you come over here, you can actually rotate it to the top. And notice now, when I'm looking at it from here, I can see it's pushed all the way down to the bottom. So if I click on the words again, I can use my arrow keys and walk it up so it's centered on the plate. Once I'm done that, take my work plane, click over here off of the plate, and now I'm back to that blue work plane. You can see it's good. So this is option 1 for your nameplate. You can go ahead and just put your letters like that. Option 2 would be to change these to a whole. So if you click on them and choose this button here, which is whole, I can now grab it and drop it through. And it's important that it's sticking out of the top and the bottom. That's how I know it's going to cut all the way through. Now it's not a whole until I actually group them together as one thing. So I'm going to click, drag a box around it, and then this is our group button right here where it says group. Once I do that, it's going to make it one thing and it'll cut the whole out. So that's option 2. So you have the 3D letters, you have the whole cuts. The last option is to change this to standing up. So if I change this back to a solid, and you notice there's these little arrow keys that rotate. So this one rotates it this way. That's not what I want. This one spins it around. Again, not what I want. So I got to find that third rotation. There's always 3. So the third one, you may have to change the angle you're looking at. So this one is right here. And now I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. Now, once again, I'm kind of sunken a little bit into my plate. So I'm going to drag this up a little bit so it's sitting. And you want to make sure that you're not floating, because if you're floating, it won't connect. And you can check that by putting your work plane back and making sure this is at 0. This number stays at 0 right there. That way you know that you're on the plate. All right, that's basically it. You can then decorate it however you want. There's some shapes that have hearts and stars and things like that in the shape section. You can try to build your own shapes by putting different shapes together. And you can go ahead and work on creating your nameplate.